She opened the door before I even knocked twice. Her hand was still damp, droplets clinging to her wrist, sliding down to the inside of her palm. She didn't say hello right away. Just looked at me, steady, soft, like she'd been waiting longer than she'd admit. "Shower's acting up again," she said. Her voice was light, but her eyes stayed on me longer than they needed to. I nodded, shifting the small toolkit in my hand. "Yeah, no problem. I'll take a look." Her place was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet where even footsteps sound personal. She led me in, barefoot, the faintest trace of perfume hanging in the air behind her. Something warm, almost honey-sweet. I shouldn't have noticed, but I did. The bathroom light flickered when she pushed the door open. Steam lingered from where she'd tried the water earlier. The mirror fogged, drops sliding down its surface like slow rain. "Sorry," she murmured. "It never stays hot for long." She stood close as I bent near the faucet. Too close. Her sleeve brushed my arm. Once, then again, whether accidental or not, I couldn't tell. My pulse picked up anyway. I tried to focus on the knob, the valve, the metal groaning as I turned it, but all I could sense was her. How she leaned lightly against the frame, one shoulder tilted, hair falling forward just enough to hide half her face. "You're good with your hands," she said, almost idly. I froze. Just for a second. My fingers tightened on the wrench. I guess so." She didn't look away. The silence stretched. The only sound was the steady drip of water, like a clock measuring how long neither of us spoke. Finally, the pipe hissed. The stream ran smoother, steadier, hot. "There," I said, straightening up. "Should be fine now." I wiped my hand on a towel hanging by the sink. The fabric was soft, too soft, like it carried her touch. I realized too late I was holding it longer than I should. When I turned, she was closer. I hadn't heard her move, but there she was, her face inches away, her eyes searching mine like she wanted to ask something she couldn't quite say. A drop of water slid from her hairline down to her cheek. Before I thought, my hand half lifted. She didn't move, didn't stop me. I let the moment pass and pulled my hand back. Her lips parted, the faintest breath escaping. Then she whispered, so low I almost thought I misheard, "Stay wet with me." It wasn't loud. It wasn't even clear, maybe not meant for me at all. But I felt it. Every word sank deeper than I wanted it to. I couldn't answer right away. My throat was dry. I tried to find something, anything, to say that would break the spell, but nothing came. She tilted her head, waiting. My chest tightened. The warmth of the steam, the nearness of her skin, the curve of her hand brushing past mine, it was all too much. Then, suddenly, the sound of a door slammed from somewhere down the hall. Both of us turned. The spell shattered, but not gone, just suspended, hanging between us and the quiet that followed. Her eyes came back to mine, unreadable now, as if she was deciding whether to laugh it off, explain it, or let it stay as it was. I still hadn't breathed properly when she whispered, barely audible, "Don't go yet." Her words, "Don't go yet," hung between us like a thread stretched too thin. I shifted my weight, trying to think of something safe to say, something that would make me feel less exposed. But she was already moving past me into the kitchen, bare feet whispering against the floor. "Coffee?" she asked, not turning. I hesitated. Sure. Her kitchen was warm, filled with the soft hum of the fridge and the faint ticking of a clock. She poured slowly, carefully, as though even the way the liquid touched porcelain mattered. When she handed me the cup, her fingers brushed mine. Just enough. She didn't pull away quickly, either. Her hand lingered, a little too long, before she stepped back. "You live alone?" I asked. The question came out quieter than I meant. Her smile flickered. Too long, maybe. My daughter visits when she can. Otherwise, just me." Something in the way she said it, light, almost careless, only made it heavier. I nodded, looking down into my cup. "I've never lived alone." She tilted her head, watching me. "You're still young. It'll come." Her eyes softened, then sharpened again, as if she caught herself letting too much slip. She sipped her coffee, lips leaving a faint trace on the rim. I should have looked away. Instead, I found myself memorizing it. "Don't stare like that," she murmured suddenly. Heat shot to my face. I wasn't. You were. She interrupted gently, her voice almost teasing, but her expression carried something else. Not anger. Not exactly. More like a warning. Don't let this get out of hand. The silence stretched again. My chest felt tight, caught between apology and confession. You must have someone, I said finally, fumbling for balance. A boyfriend, or, her laugh was soft, but sharp around the edges. Not in years. She set her cup down, her hand tightening just once on the counter before releasing it. Some things, they just don't last. I wanted to ask what had happened, who had hurt her or left her, but the look in her eyes stopped me. It wasn't an invitation. It was a boundary. So I let it go. Still, the air shifted. That invisible wall between us didn't feel as solid anymore. She stepped closer, reaching past me to the cabinet. Her arm brushed against my shoulder, her breath grazing my cheek as she stretched for a glass. My pulse jumped. She must have felt it. She lingered just long enough to make sure. You fixed my shower, she said, her voice low, almost amused. And now you're standing here like you don't know where to put yourself. I swallowed hard. Maybe I don't. Her hand paused on the cabinet handle. Slowly, she lowered it. When she turned, she was close again. Too close, her face just inches from mine. You shouldn't, she whispered. But she didn't move away. I caught myself holding my breath, waiting for her to decide. Her eyes searched mine, testing, measuring, maybe warning again. The room seemed smaller, the clock louder, everything sharper. Finally, she stepped back, running her hand through her hair like nothing had happened. It's late, she said softly. You should go. I nodded, though my feet didn't move. Something in her tone wasn't final. It was conflicted, like she was arguing with herself more than with me. I set the coffee cup down. She reached for it at the same time. Our hands touched, flat, palm against palm for one suspended second. Neither of us pulled away. Her fingers pressed lightly against mine before slipping free. Her eyes caught mine once more, steady, unreadable. That was all. But it was enough to leave my chest tight, my skin buzzing with electricity that didn't fade even as I stepped toward the door. She didn't follow me, didn't say goodbye. But just as I reached for the handle, I heard her voice, soft, almost broken this time. You'll come back, won't you? I told myself I wouldn't come back so soon. But 2 nights later, I was at her door again. She opened it with the same unreadable look, like she hadn't decided whether to smile or scold me. Her hair was still damp, tied loosely, strands falling against her cheek. You don't listen, she said softly. You asked me to. I answered before I could think. Her eyes lingered on me a beat too long. She stepped aside. The house felt different this time. Not quiet, exactly, but alert. Like it remembered the last time I'd been here. We sat in the living room, her on the sofa, me in the chair too far away to feel natural. Conversation stumbled between small things. Work, errands, nothing that mattered. But every pause was heavy. Every glance stretched longer than it should. Halfway through, her phone buzzed on the table. She didn't move to answer it. The name flashing on the screen was Daniel. She noticed me noticing. Her hand darted, flipped the phone face down. A friend, she said quickly. I nodded, though I didn't believe it. She tucked her legs beneath her on the sofa, turning toward me. The hem of her sweater slid just above her knee, and I looked away too fast, making it obvious I'd looked at all. Why do you do that? She asked. Do what? Pretend you're not staring. I tried to laugh it off, but my throat tightened. Because maybe I shouldn't. Her lips curved faintly, not quite a smile, not quite disapproval. Maybe you're right. The room went silent again. The clock ticked, slow and deliberate. I leaned forward. She didn't lean back. The space between us narrowed, heartbeat by heartbeat. Her hand rested on the arm of the sofa. Without meaning to, mine reached too. Our fingers brushed, light, electric, just enough to set everything off balance. Her breath caught. I felt it before I heard it. You're too young, she whispered. You keep saying that. Because it's true. But she didn't pull her hand away. The sound of keys at the front door shattered it. Both of us froze. Her eyes widened, panic flashing through them. In an instant, she stood, smoothing her sweater, her voice dropping to a sharp whisper. Go, kitchen. Now. I slipped behind the counter just as the door opened. A neighbor stepped in, older man, carrying a folder. He called her name casually, like this was routine. She forced a smile, too bright, and took the folder from him. Something about bills, repairs, nothing important. But I stayed hidden, my pulse racing, her voice trembling only once when she told him good night. The door shut again. Silence returned. She pressed her back against it, closing her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she looked at me. "You see," she whispered. "This can't happen." But the words lacked conviction. I stepped out slowly, every part of me torn between leaving and staying. She stood there, the faintest tremor in her hand as she brushed her hair back. "Tell me to go," I said quietly. Her eyes locked on mine. She didn't. Instead, she moved closer. 2 steps, then another, until the space between us was almost gone. Her breath touched my cheek. Her eyes dropped to my lips, then back up. For one suspended second, I thought she'd close the gap. My chest ached with it. But she turned her face at the last instant, her forehead resting against mine instead. Neither of us spoke. Our hands found each other in the silence, fingers weaving together, holding tighter than either of us meant. It wasn't a kiss. Not yet. But it was closer than anything we could take back. I couldn't stop replaying that night. Her forehead against mine, the way our hands had locked like we were already past the point of no return. I told myself I'd stay away, give her space, let it fade. But I didn't. I was back again, standing in her living room, my pulse thrumming in my throat. She moved restlessly tonight, picking things up, setting them down, pacing a little like she was trying to burn off something she couldn't say out loud. Finally, she stopped near the window, arms folded tight. "You can't keep coming here," she said. "You asked me to." I reminded her, voice low. Her eyes closed briefly. That was a mistake. I stepped closer, slowly, careful not to crowd her too soon. "Then tell me to leave. Really tell me." She didn't. Her chest rose and fell, sharper now, her breath catching when she turned and found me closer than she'd expected. "You don't understand," she whispered. "People talk. They'd call me desperate. They'd call you young," I finished. Her silence was answer enough. I let the pause stretch, then reached out, hesitating only a second before brushing a strand of hair from her face. She didn't move away. The softness of it slid across my fingertips, a charge firing straight through me. Her eyes locked on mine, wide, unblinking. "You think I don't notice?" I said quietly. "The way you look at me. The way you don't stop me when I get close." Her lips parted, but no words came. Instead, she leaned back against the wall, as if she needed it to hold her up. I followed her, not touching, just close enough that my hand hovered near her waist, close enough that the air between us felt too thin to breathe. "Say you don't want me," I whispered, my mouth so near her ear that the words brushed her skin. Her breath shivered out, shaky, uneven. "Don't do this," she said, but the protest was weak, strangled by something stronger underneath. I should have stopped. I knew that. But her hand lifted, hesitant, trembling, and came to rest against my chest. Not pushing me away. Just there, fingers curling lightly in the fabric of my shirt. My heart hammered against her palm. She felt it. I saw it in the way her lips parted again, her gaze flickering between my eyes and my mouth, caught in a war she couldn't win. "This isn't fair," she murmured. "Neither of us is pretending anymore," I said. Her head tilted forward, just slightly, almost imperceptibly, but I felt it. The pull, the inevitability. My hand rose, sliding gently along her jaw, tilting her face toward mine. Everything in me was screaming now. But just as the moment teetered, her lips a breath from mine, her phone rang. The sound was harsh, jarring, like glass breaking. She startled, her hand slipping from my chest. I pulled back, the distance between us flooding with air that suddenly felt too cold. She stared at the phone buzzing on the table, frozen. Finally, she snatched it up, pressed it to her ear. "Yes." Her voice was too high, too sharp, almost unnatural. She turned away from me as if I weren't still standing there with my chest heaving. I caught fragments, her daughter's voice, maybe. Something about visiting, about plans. Her tone softened, smoothed out, but her hand trembled as she clutched the phone tighter. When she hung up, she didn't turn right away. Just stood there, shoulders rigid, like she was trying to erase what had almost happened. Finally, she faced me. Her eyes were bright, too bright. "You should go." I shook my head. "You don't want me to." Her lips parted, a denial ready, but nothing came. The truth was in her silence, in the way her hands still trembled, in the way her body leaned toward me even as her words tried to push me out. I stepped forward once more, closing the distance inch by inch. She didn't move, didn't breathe, and just as I reached for her again, she whispered, so faint I almost missed it, "If you kiss me now, nothing will ever be the same." I didn't sleep that night. Her words replayed in my head like a warning wrapped in invitation. If you kiss me now, nothing will ever be the same. I told myself maybe she'd meant it as a final boundary, a line I wasn't meant to cross. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just that. It was a confession. The next evening, I found myself at her door again. I hadn't planned it, not really. My feet just brought me there. She opened the door slowly this time, like she'd been expecting me and trying to decide whether to let me in. Her eyes looked tired, shadowed. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. "I know." And yet she stepped aside. Inside, the air was heavier than before. Not quiet, tense. She didn't move toward the living room, didn't offer coffee, just crossed her arms as if to keep herself steady. "I talked to my daughter last night," she said, not looking at me. I waited. "She asked about you." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Her eyes flicked to mine. "She's seen us. More than once. She said I looked different when you're around. Asked if I was hiding something." The ground tilted under me. "And what did you say?" She gave a hollow laugh. "I lied. Said you were just helping with things around the house. Nothing more." Her voice cracked on nothing. I stepped closer before I could stop myself. "She's not wrong." She shook her head, backing up until her hip brushed the table. Her hands gripped its edge, knuckles white. "You don't understand. If this gets out, if anyone knows, then they'll know I care about you." I cut in. My voice was harsher than I intended, desperate. Her eyes widened. She wasn't expecting me to say it so plainly. For a moment, she looked as if she might crumble or melt. Instead, she pushed past me, brushing my arm with more force than needed. The contact still sent fire through me. "You're too young to care like that," she said, but it sounded like she was arguing with herself more than me. I turned, catching her wrist gently before she could move farther away. Her skin trembled under my touch. "Don't decide what I feel." Her lips parted, breath unsteady. She didn't pull free. The silence was thick, pulsing. Her chest rose and fell, her body still angled toward escape, but her hand anchored in mine. "I'm scared," she whispered finally. The words hit harder than any rejection. I stepped closer, slowly, carefully, until I was right in front of her. My other hand lifted, hesitant, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. My fingers brushed the soft warmth of her skin, and she shivered under the touch. "You think I'm not?" I murmured. Her eyes closed, just for a second, as if letting herself imagine something she knew she shouldn't. When they opened, they shone with something raw. Fear, yes, but something else too. Something she couldn't keep hidden anymore. "I can't lose myself like this," she said. "Then don't lose yourself," I answered. "Lose me instead." Her breath caught at that, her hand tightening in mine without meaning to. The meaning of my words sank in. We were already standing at the edge, both pretending we hadn't stepped too close. She looked at me, really looked, like she was seeing the truth of us for the first time. Then, suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoed in the hall outside. We both froze. She pulled her hand from mine, retreating quickly, her back hitting the wall. The steps faded. The silence returned. But the damage was done. We couldn't pretend anymore. Her chest heaved, her eyes searching mine with a kind of surrender and terror all at once. And then she whispered, voice shaking but resolute, "Come back tomorrow. No more hiding." The next evening felt heavier than any before. My walk to her door was slow, deliberate, as though every step was a question I hadn't answered. When she opened it, she didn't speak. Her eyes held mine, steady but trembling underneath. She stepped aside silently, letting me in. The air between us was alive, charged, impossible to ignore. We didn't move toward the living room this time. We just stood there in the quiet of her hallway, inches apart, waiting for one of us to break. Finally, she exhaled, shaky. I told myself all day not to open the door. And yet you did, I whispered. Her lips curved, the faintest, almost broken smile. I knew you'd be here. My hand rose before I could stop it, brushing along her jaw. Her skin was warm, softer than I'd imagined in the countless times I'd stopped myself from reaching. She closed her eyes briefly, as if surrendering to the simple touch. You shouldn't, she murmured. Then tell me to stop. Her silence said more than words. She leaned back against the wall, but I followed, close enough that the heat of her body pressed against mine without touching. Her breath hitched when my fingers tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, grazing the curve of her neck. I don't want to hide anymore, I said, voice low. Her hand lifted, hesitant, then rested flat against my chest. She felt my heart hammering beneath it, her fingers curling slightly as though holding on. You're making this too hard, she whispered. It already is. The pause stretched. The house was silent except for the sound of us. Our breaths, uneven and quick, filling the space like a secret too big to contain. Her forehead touched mine again, just like before, but this time she didn't stop there. Her nose brushed mine, her lips hovering close enough that every exhale mingled. Once we do this, she whispered, we can't go back. I swallowed, barely able to speak. Maybe I don't want to. The final inch disappeared. Her lips met mine, soft at first, tentative, like she still wasn't sure. But then her hand tightened on my shirt, pulling me closer, and the hesitation cracked into something rawer, needier, impossible to undo. The kiss deepened and broke all at once, both of us breathing hard when we pulled back. Her eyes glistened, searching mine, afraid and relieved at the same time. I tried so hard not to, she whispered. I touched her cheek, my thumb brushing the corner of her lip. So did I. She let out a small, unsteady laugh, shaking her head. We're fools. Maybe, I said. But we're the same kind of fool. That broke her, just a little. Her body leaned into mine, her forehead against my shoulder now, her hand sliding down my arm until our fingers laced together. For the first time, it didn't feel like running or hiding. It felt like a choice, messy, dangerous, but real. We stood there, holding on, neither of us speaking for a long moment. Finally, she whispered, barely audible, now you know everything. I nodded, my hand tightening in hers. And I'm not leaving. Her eyes lifted to mine again, clear now, stripped of hesitation. Whatever fear had held her back was still there, but it wasn't stronger than this. Not anymore. The world outside might tear it apart. Her daughter might ask questions. Neighbors might notice. Maybe none of it would last. But in that hallway, with her hand in mine and her lips still lingering on mine, I knew exactly what we were. Two people who had finally stopped pretending. And for the first time, so did she. The hallway still held the echo of our kiss, like the walls themselves had absorbed it. I didn't move, and neither did she. It was as though stepping apart would break something fragile we had just pieced together. Her hand remained in mine, our fingers tangled like they had always belonged that way. She let out a breath, her forehead resting lightly against my chest. For the first time since this began, she wasn't pulling back. She wasn't hiding behind warnings or laughter that covered her fear. She was simply there, with me. I've spent so long convincing myself this couldn't happen, she whispered, her voice muffled against me. That it shouldn't. But when you look at me like that, she trailed off, her hand tightening slightly in mine. I forget all the reasons I'm supposed to be careful. I brushed my thumb over her knuckles, grounding us both. Maybe we don't need reasons anymore. Maybe we just need honesty. Her head tilted up, her eyes searching mine. For a moment I braced for her to retreat again, for the weight of years and expectations to crush what we had dared to open. But instead, her lips softened into the gentlest smile I'd ever seen. I'm scared, she admitted. I know, I said quietly. So am I. We stood there, breathing the same air, fear and relief mixing together. But instead of pulling us apart, it stitched us closer. Slowly, She tugged me toward the couch. We sank down side by side, our knees brushing, still holding hands. She leaned against me this time, her head finding its place on my shoulder as if it had been waiting there all along. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator and the steady rhythm of our breathing. It didn't feel rushed anymore. The storm of hesitation had passed, and what remained was softer, calmer, like we had stepped into the eye of something much larger. "Do you regret it?" she asked suddenly, her voice small. I turned, pressing a kiss to her forehead, lingering there for a moment. Not for a second. Her breath caught, but instead of tears, a quiet laugh escaped her. She shifted, curling a little closer, and I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, drawing her in. "You make me feel," she hesitated, then finished with a whisper, "alive again." I didn't answer with words. I just held her, letting the weight of everything else, fear, doubt, age, the outside world, fall away until all that was left was us, pressed close in the soft quiet of her living room. Her hand moved down my arm, fingers tracing the lines as though memorizing them. When she reached my hand again, she laced her fingers tightly with mine and didn't let go. There was no grand declaration, no dramatic vow, just this closeness, simple, human, undeniable. And it was enough. The night stretched on, but neither of us moved. We sat there, sharing warmth, our bodies touching in small, steady ways. The brush of her cheek against my shoulder, the weight of her hand in mine, the soft rise and fall of her breath. For the first time, the silence between us wasn't heavy. It was safe. Finally, she whispered, "So what happens now?" I smiled, resting my cheek lightly against her hair. "Now? We stop pretending. Whatever comes, we face it together." She let out a long, shaky breath, but when she looked up at me, her eyes were clear. She leaned in, kissed me softly, slower this time, unhurried, full of quiet certainty. When we parted, she didn't look away. She didn't retreat. She simply stayed close, her hand still in mine, as though she'd finally decided she didn't want to let go. And I knew then, no matter what lay beyond that door, no matter what questions or whispers might follow, we had chosen each other. Fully, finally, and without disguise. We had crossed the line, and we weren't going back.